Welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. This is episode 163, Healthy Holiday Eating Without Guilt. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. I'm Shelley, registered dietitian, nutritionist, and navigating my 25th year as a dietitian during the holiday season. So today I'm talking about the topic that is top of the mind for many people as we enter the holiday season, and that's the healthy holiday eating without guilt. So with gatherings and special treats and holiday favorites all around, there's often a lot of pressure to stick to a diet, or on the flip side, just let all of that structure go until January. So I want to acknowledge this part where people have the pressure to stick to a diet. I know many people who do the various bodybuilding competitions or physique competitions, and it seems to me that they often happen in December. So I've met many people who are literally measuring, weighing, being highly restrictive on Thanksgiving Day and being nervous about whether or not they're ruining things for themselves to run off to the gym on Thanksgiving Day. So I know that's a very specific group of people, but I also know there's a lot of times that people really get hyper paranoid and feel a lot of guilt about eating around the holidays. So as I said at the onset, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've been talking about this for 25 years. So I feel like it's repetitive, yet at the same time, I feel people need to hear it every single year. So that's why today I'm going to share strategies so you can enjoy this season with a balanced approach, ways to practice mindful eating, and how to reframe the idea that we're having these holiday indulgences and we should feel bad about them, but really help you keep feeling your best without this feeling of guilt or restriction. So first up, I would love for us to reframe the holiday guilt around food. So I want to start by addressing that is a common feeling that people will experience this time of year is guilt. Well, actually, let's be honest, people do it year round. And I have people who say things to me all the time about making comments about things that I eat or comments that I'm watching people about things that they eat, which leads me to think that there's a lot of guilt out there around food year round. And I don't do that. But the holidays, it seems to magnify this because it has the traditional foods. There's a lot more sweets, there's a lot more savory treats that we may only enjoy this specific time of year or once a year. And that's what makes the holidays so special. I often joke that I use more butter, sugar, and flour in the month of December alone than I do in the other 11 months of the year combined. And you know what? That is because I do a lot of baking in December, as a lot of people do, but I don't feel bad about that. It is something I enjoy doing and like sharing with people. But when we feel guilty about indulging, we're often stuck between these two mindsets, either strict restriction or total holiday mode with no limits. It seems like we have to have one thing or the other, and finding that middle ground is difficult. But really, not having that strict restriction, but not going all out, it's not going to make us feel good if we do one or the other. So really, I want to just say, let's have this find a balance here, not having a feeling of deprivation if we're going to restrict ourselves, while also not going all in because we may not feel good physically and it can lead to unhappiness mentally. So when we talk about the middle ground, that's where you can enjoy the holiday foods and not have those negative feelings. So the key here is to reframe indulgences. Reframe these indulgences, I should say. So instead of looking at holiday foods as bad or off limits, consider them as part of your celebration and connect with the family and friends. So whether you're at a Thanksgiving meal, you're at a potluck with coworkers, or anything of that comes along with these holidays, really have that enjoyment that goes with it. And that way we can approach holiday eating with that balanced mindset, and we're less likely to overindulge or feel like we're failing in our health goals. So next up, practical tips for finding balance with holiday foods. So I'm going to give you 5 tips here with those practical tips here. So number 1, prioritize the foods you love. So during the holidays, choose the foods you genuinely look forward to. So if pumpkin pie is your favorite, make room to enjoy it. My brother-in-law makes this really good bourbon chocolate pecan pie. It's a once a year thing, and sometimes it's not even that because it's a lot of work to make. But I eat it, I love it, I enjoy it without guilt. So focusing on foods that you love, focus on the foods that you don't tend to get the rest of the year. So if it's something you have the rest of the year, maybe put that into the back seat for a bit if you want to enjoy other things, although you can find balance in enjoying everything. But focusing on the foods that you love will help you be satisfied without the feeling of overindulging on things that don't really matter to you. Now, number 2, eat mindfully. Mindful eating is a powerful tool, especially during the holidays. And I've talked about this in the past, so I'll put a link in the show notes about mindful eating. So before you begin eating, take a moment to appreciate the food in front of you. Take a look at the food, smell the food, and pay attention to what's going on around you and the people that you are with. Now, mindful eating is usually without distractions, so true mindful eating would not be with other people or interacting with other people. So we've got to find that mindful-ish point of view here. But really, eating slowly, noticing how each bite tastes. Often by eating mindfully and slowing down, you'll feel satisfied sooner and won't feel the need to keep reaching for more. Number 3, balance your plate. So when filling your plate, think about balance. Enjoy those seasonal treats, but also make sure you include protein, you include veggies, you include some whole grains. So balancing your plate helps keep your blood sugar steady, whether you have diabetes or not. Keeping our blood sugar steady helps with not having those ups and downs, and it'll gives you energy, and the ups and downs, as I said, preventing that post-meal crash. So when people blame the tryptophan for the post-meal crash, they're not accurate in that. It's the high amount of carbohydrate-rich foods and the imbalance of the protein-rich meal that tends to contribute to the post-meal crash. Number 4, listen to your body's cues. So it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and eat more than we need because we're distracted or we're just reaching for things. It's almost an automatic thing. But tuning into your body's hunger and fullness signals is incredibly helpful. So before going for seconds, ask yourself if you're still hungry or if you've had enough. And it's okay to leave food on your plate if you're satisfied. And this is times something that comes to mind is when in different households, people have different approaches. In my point of view, having the meal and then a couple hours later having the dessert, because that way I can enjoy the dessert more, where some people have the dessert right away. Whatever works for you is fine, but it's something where I just never understood putting one more thing in your mouth if you're already full. All right, and number 5, avoid this Last Supper mentality. This is something that people do all the time. Day before they're starting to diet, they go on a binge to eat all those things that are off limits. And really, that's not a healthy approach. So the holidays aren't about eating everything at once. You need to remind yourself that you can have a small taste of holiday foods now and come back to them later. So avoiding that Last Supper mentality allows you to savor the foods of the season without the pressure to consume everything in one sitting. So if there's leftovers, great. If there's not, is that really a big deal? This food will come around again, and life will not be over just because you didn't have another serving of the sweet potato pie or the mashed potatoes. So now let's talk about rethinking holiday indulgences and enjoying them without guilt. So often we feel the holiday treats are unhealthy or they're undoing our health progress. But really, we have to remember that nutrition is about the choices we make consistently over time. It's not about one day, one meal, one food, one treat, one dessert, one cookie, one piece of fudge. It's what are we doing all the other days of the year? And yes, I used to be that person who said the holidays are only, 3, 4, 5 days from Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's. But let's be honest, this stuff happens throughout those 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Only 5 weeks this year, but it happens more than just those 5 days. So here's the thing. If you typically eat nutritious foods and maintain balanced habits, a slice of cake, a piece of pie, holiday cookie, holiday meal will not derail your progress. It really won't. So instead of viewing these indulgences as cheating, think of them as part of your holiday experience. It's okay to enjoy the special foods as part of a healthy relationship with food. And by allowing yourself to indulge without guilt, you're less likely to overeat or feel the need to compensate later. So I always say this, if we're told something is off limits, human nature is to go for that thing that is off limits. I said it before, I'll keep saying it. It's one of the first stories in the Bible. There was all the things that Adam and Eve could have, and the one thing they couldn't have, what did they do? They went for it. So if we're looking at something that's off limits, our brains automatically want to find a way to work around that. So truly enjoy what you're eating and have it be a win-win situation. Enjoy it and don't worry about having to feel guilty or overcompensate later. Now, let's bring this all together and set an intentional mindset for the holidays. So as we approach this holiday season, I want to encourage you to set an intentional mindset around your food choices. So here's a simple framework to guide you. 1, reflect on the foods you love and the ones you want to enjoy during this season. 2, practice mindful eating and savor each holiday meal. 3, balance your plate with nourishing foods and those special treats. 4, listen to your body's cues and remember that fullness is a signal to stop. And number 5, reframe your indulgences as part of the celebration and not something to feel guilty about. All right, so that's it for this week's episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. I want you to remember that the holidays are so much more than food. It's about connection. It's about celebration. It's about enjoying time with loved ones. So embrace a balanced approach to holiday eating. And you can enjoy the season without guilt. Start the new year without feeling that you need to reset or start all over, but with positivity and a continuation of your wellness goals. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to follow or subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend who might need some extra encouragement this holiday season. A new episode drops every Friday on your favorite podcast platform. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful and guilt-free holiday. Take care and bye for now.